I just watched the tape in my dad's old video camera. I shouldn't have moved back into my childhood home with my wife and son. My wife Asha and my son Finley are packing their bags as I type this. They think I've lost my mind, and I'll let them keep that thought because they sure as hell aren't ever watching this tape for themselves. Of course, I'm not sure that'll protect them from the thing I've just seen in the recording. And outside the recording, my father committed suicide on my 7th birthday, so there are blank spots in my memory bank. My memory only started working again once I moved out of my childhood home, in fact. I've been told this is normal. I've been told the black squall, that loud shroud of a storm ever raging in my brain, is a coping mechanism for trauma. I've been told that the memories aren't necessarily gone and may well be gated by my mind. I think the tape just unlatched that gate. My mother died last year, leaving me the family home in her will. Finley was eager to live at Grandma's old house, perhaps to hold on to the last piece of her, so I agreed, because I didn't know about the things in that tape. Or I didn't remember. We've only been here a couple of weeks. Today I was in the attic, still sorting Mum's old things into sell and keep piles. And that's when I found the old family camcorder. I charged it up at a wall socket on the upstairs landing and was baffled to see it spring to life after close to 30 years of disuse. The tape began in 1995 at my 6th birthday party. 11 of my pals were gathered around the kitchen table, salivating at a cake iced with "Happy Birthday, Jordan." Mum was on filming duty whilst Dad did the cutting, and I guess the cameras busted after all. That was my first thought because, peeking out from behind Dad, mirroring his movements as he cut the birthday cake, was a second Dad. It looked as if my father were standing before an infinity mirror, with a reflection of him jutting out to the left and behind him. I imagined there might be a third Dad after that, and a fourth, and so on. But there were only two, one behind the other. The duplicating effect had to be a glitch. After all, the camera had been lounging in a cardboard box for decades, dressing itself in dust while its insides rusted. But when I caught a glimpse of the clone's face, I realized he wasn't an exact copy. The replica's limbs moved in tandem with my father's limbs, but this puppet's face was entirely different. It was scrunched up, and not in a human way, but like waste paper. The flesh folds were too heavy and unnatural, and quite frankly, impossible. All facial features were buried, save for lips which jutted with fury. Second Dad looked distorted and not at all like himself, but there was too much definition and clarity to the face for it to be a glitch in the recording. My own limbs started to feel heavy, as if they were gaining heavy folds of their own, and dread skewered me to the carpet of the upstairs landing. I was glued in place, unable to do anything but keep watching. The recording cut to December, and I was sitting at the foot of the Christmas tree in my red reindeer onesie, opening presents with my younger brother. My heart climbed my throat as something moved within the pines. But 6-year-old me was oblivious. He was too enthralled by his presents to see a red sleeve adorned with reindeer, a carbon copy of his own, reached out towards him from among the branches. It wanted to tether itself to me, just as my father's copy had to him. "What is the—" I heard my mother start to say from behind the camera. When the recording cut forwards, my heart did not return below. It pulsed atop my tongue and in my ears. It was 1996, and I was sitting at a park table with my parents, camera propped against something on the table and focusing on the three of us. I remembered this. Why did I remember this when I remembered nothing else of my childhood? Dad looked strange. There was only one of him this time, but he was so pale. He looked sick. Little Jordan was too busy tucking into his sandwich to notice, but Mum looked nervous. She knew something was wrong with Dad. She tried to pave over the cracks, of course, smiling unconvincingly at the two of us. "It's Jordan's 7th birthday. Oh God. Say something funny for the camera, Daddy." He looked dead ahead at the lens, almost as if seeing present-day me, 30 years in the future. But he said nothing, and my mother's smile quavered. She leant back on the bench and looked behind my father, as if looking for something. That thing which would often hide behind him, perhaps. That second face. "Are you okay?" she asked him quietly. "You said it'd be better if we were away from the house. You said you'd be back to yourself." My father acted so quickly that I nearly dropped the camera in fright. He coiled his hands around my mother's neck and I cried out, both in the present and the past. From behind a nearby tree, there shot out an arm in a short-sleeved top, identical to the one little Jordan was wearing. It was the thing from the Christmas tree. The cloned hand swiped a forefinger through the air and conducted my younger self to dry his eyes and sit still. He did so, becoming as cold and despondent as Dad, who was strangulating Mum. But moments before the life left her body completely, my father stopped, seeming transfixed by a new whim. I know why I remember this. He got to his feet, and my mother reached across to take younger me in her near-limp arms. Then my father rummaged about in the picnic basket and produced a kitchen knife he had presumably brought to cut the cake. He didn't use it on the cake, or on Mum, or on little Jordan. He took it to his own neck. I dropped the camera, and there came weight on my shoulders, arms, back, and legs, but it was not a weight that could be shaken free. Even as I rose to my feet, I could feel something pulling me back down, something that had been lurking just over my shoulder ever since I moved Asha and Finley into my childhood home. Something I had forgotten from those foggy days of my youth, before I moved out. Before I moved out. I realized too late that my family wasn't safe here. I turned to look at the mirror hanging on the wall behind me and looked, as I had with my father, into the beginnings of infinity. Just over my shoulder, to the right, there stood a copy of me with a scrunched-up face. I didn't remember it ever sticking this heavily to me before, but then I didn't remember much of anything from my youth. I opened my mouth to scream, but the thing's hand clamped over my mouth, and there followed scalding pain as second Jordan mashed its clay-like skin into my own, attempting to become one with me. I tugged at the hand and cried out, stumbling across the upstairs landing just as Finley emerged at the bottom of the staircase. Just like that, the clone of me vanished, but I know what I saw in my 10-year-old boy's eyes. Terror. He must have glimpsed, maybe for less than a moment, something over my shoulder. "Dad, what was—" "Pack your things," I interrupted, lower half of my face still burning from that thing's grip. "Now." That brings us here. I'm slouching heavily in the open front doorway, one foot already over the threshold, and hurrying my family along. I'm struggling to breathe here. We need to get out. My wife has been questioning the second-degree burns around my mouth, but there's no way to explain it to her, and my boy just keeps giving me the most haunted looks. I just have to get him and his mother away from here. Hopefully that thing will unglue from me as soon as we're far enough away, just as it did when I moved out as a boy. My head will clear, and that'll be the end of it. I won't end up like my father.